Imagine why. Fáilte go Strand Hill. Tá sé cur is Cumberland. Hello everybody, welcome to Strand Hill. It's raining this morning, but sure we don't care. What a day I had yesterday. So many issues arose and it was fascinating. So I just start by thanking some people for donations and for interacting. I'd like to thank Alfie Green, Elaine Hanson, Neve and Brian, Eamon from Bundoran, Noel O'Neill, Aga, Aidan from the Murray, Damien and Angela and Laura, and on Chuff, Anonymous, Claire Williams, Kira, Stephen McGlinchey, Mary Maloney, Caroline Lafferty, Caroline White, Adele McGinley, Christine McGillan, and anybody else who I haven't mentioned. And you know, we've got, I think we would have near enough £2,000 now between a couple of card payments and cash and what's on the Chuffed account, so that's brilliant. But I don't like talking about money when when I meet people I don't like to ask, you know, and because it's as much about getting the message out of what's still going on and what's going on. But Caroline's been putting the Chuff link on on the posts and everything, so, and I think we could do better. I know money's tight, like, but you know, if everyone who's interacting with the videos gave us a favour, man, we would have so much money. So just a wee appeal to anybody who's watching or who comes across us, if you could spare even just a favour. I've asked Caroline to look liaise with Ischia for Gaza, and hopefully we'll be able to get the ball rolling on that, so that as we're walking we can start and see where your money is going to. And then I've got information about this other thing that's happening in northern Gaza, and I want to look into that if I get time, and I'll be able to tell you about that, and I hope that's good enough for us to go ahead with supporting that, and I'm sure it will be. Actually, I just want to be fully have the facts. So yesterday morning, as I was saying, Angela and Laura and me went for a swim there at Mullaghmore, and we had lovely coffee and scones there with Stacey, and then Damien brought me up to the main road and left me off, and I did the video for the children that I saw in the police stations and all the other child hostages, like, and I couldn't believe how difficult that was still after 6 months. It was really tough. But you know, yesterday alone there's just short of 10,000 views on that page, and I can't get over that. I'm not quite sure how it's happening, because I don't know what I'm doing. But nearly 10,000 views, and imagine if just 1,000 people, well, I think there is, I don't know many views on that particular one, but it's amazing that those sweet children, they don't want us to see them. They don't want us, like, they got rid of us out of Palestine because we were being witnessed and videoing what they were doing. But to think that even just yesterday morning, and I know a few people said, no, I was thinking about them and I was praying for them, and you know, that is a powerful thing, really. And Damien said yesterday he wouldn't like to be alive at any other stage, because he's all into a lifelong activist. He was one of the first persons in the UK to have a powerful computer through his work, and all into videos. And he's mesmerised by the fact that we can do what we're doing and do wee videos, and how all the people are being connected. And you can see it on this walk. The amount of support coming down that road, the horns blowing constantly. And yesterday there was a new thing happened. Well, a couple of new things, like there's a couple of big lorries were driving past them. Boys are on the road all the time, and they sounded those big horns, but they were filming me. And there was 2 or 3 cars as well, and they were filming, like, So the power of social media, I think people are expecting to see the flag going down the road, and they're ready and they're filming it. And when they get into towns, people are saying, "Oh, how do I know you?" Or "I saw you on the Facebook." So, I mean, when I was kicked out of Palestine, like I said, they're trying to silence us, like, and what can I do to just fucking defy them? And this is it, like, and so these are exciting times, and the power's in the palm of our hands, and I just feel that across the world we are, as a people, coming together. And as Francesca Albanese said, Palestine has ignited something unstoppable, and it has, and it's a grassroots people thing, and I think it's the first time in history that we, the people, have had this power, and that we are actually using it. And these are really, really exciting times. And imagine if we can do to Zionism what people before us did to apartheid South Africa. Apartheid South Africa was about the people in South Africa. This Zionism thing and what they're doing is about the world. Because they have tentacles everywhere. They're owning media and governments everywhere, and we can see that now for the first time. And this is an exciting point in history. So that's all brilliant. But in Mullaghmore, Damien, I happened to mention that I'd been to Auschwitz, and Damien said to me, You need to do something, tell people about that and your experiences there. And I said, oh yeah, I suppose so. But would you believe it, when I walked down the road, the first person I met, he was a supporter, and he was filming me walking up, and I said hello to him, and I sat down on the side of the road to take a rest with him, and he started to talk, and he had a great welcome for himself, to be honest. But I've learned to listen to people like that. So he told me who he was and everything he'd done and everything he was doing and what he wanted to do in the future and the whole thing. But early on it became apparent that he was what, I don't use the term anti-Semitic because that's bullshit term, that's another thing that they've twisted. And I haven't come up with the right word, but maybe a Jew hater he appeared to be. And equating what the Zionists were doing with the Jewish people, and is that such a coincidence? Damien may had said about talking about Auschwitz, and then this character came along. So I'd like to do a video on that side of things, and I'll do that in the future. So that was the first wingnut that I met. And so then we were stopped at a garage there, and I was getting a bite to eat, and Damien was there, and Ansel and Laura, and this big man came across, and I recognised him right away. He had passed me in Toonbridge, and I had told him to follow me on Facebook, and he's distinctive look, he's got a big beard and all, and he's a big tall man, so I remembered him. And he's come down to surf in Sligo, and he wanted to walk a bit of the road with me yesterday, and he walked, and it was wet and rainy at that time, and Liam and me walked a good bit of the road, and we had a great conversation, and he was telling me that he's involved in charities up in the north. He has his own charity, and he's getting funding for all little small community groups from the lottery in different places. He's helping them to get funding, because they wouldn't have the wherewithal to do it themselves, but he has knowledge. And how he's working with, there's a crisis, he was telling me, in the north with addiction and young people, and a lot of that is probably generational trauma, you know, like, and what we went through was bad enough, but can you imagine the trauma there's going to be in Palestine when what we went through in 30 years was happening over a period of 2 days? Like, but the north has a problem with addiction and drug abuse and alcohol abuse, and Eamon's trying to work with young people. And the north also has, like many western places, a crisis of elderly or older people being lonely. So Eamon he's working with getting them out on walks and foraging things and all these kinds of things, and that's just amazing. It was brilliant meeting Liam. And then, loneliness. Nobody must be lonely in Palestine, because they're so bonded to their families, and they live in their communities. And I don't think anyone would be lonely at all. And then, of course, with Islam, they don't have the addiction problem. There's no alcohol, and I don't think they're doing drugs. I've been in a few Muslim countries, and I've never seen a drink problem or the drug problem that I see in England where I am. So that's another issue, isn't it? So it was brilliant to meet Liam, absolutely brilliant. And then Eamon, who gave me the t-shirt in Bundoran yesterday, he had passed me on the way down to Sligo in a big wave out, and then he came back and he stopped with us, and we had a great chat, a really interesting chat, and it raised an issue as well. I'm going to do a wee video. It's amazing what you can get out of a conversation. I'm going to do a video about my chat with Eamon when he's telling me about his son Brody. And then, as the three of us were talking, this young girl came up and she was pretending to be concerned about us talking, and it was dangerous and that side part of the road. And Eamon says, where we're going now anyway. And but she was a wee bit strange. And I looked round, and this man was coming up like he was in a rage and in an awful hurry. And he had no neck, but he was carrying a big square head. And he came up and he was angry, and he started to talk about imminence. And I said, what? And he advised me to get wax took out of my ear. And it reminded me of when I was in Palestine, because after my first interaction with the army, and they were telling me, asking me for my passport and talking nonsense, I said to the young ones, now see, from now on I'm going to pretend I'm deaf, and I'm going to ignore them, because I can't be bothered talking to them. I'm just going to ignore them, and if they speak to me, you just say, oh no, he's deaf. And that's what I did, and the young ones done that, and I didn't really have to talk to them at all. I just walked away from them and ignored them, and that worked. So that reminded me yesterday, your man's advice. And he also told me to get a job, which was good advice if you don't have a job. So I do have a job, and I've always had a job, and I never got 1 brown cent of benefits in my life, and I paid taxes all my life. Like all the activists that I've met, or either worked all their lives and are retired, are working jobs. A really good activist I know in Ballybofey has a couple of jobs, so that whole line was going on. And then Eamon went, and me and Liam were walking on towards Sligo, and he was following us, and he brought his head with him, and he was like herding us like 2 sheep. But if you saw us, those three of us, and saw the flag, and you beat your horn, thanks, because every car that came round that corner and the other direction was beeping their horns. Liam will tell you at that particular time, the horns are just going, it's getting them big waves and all, and the wife was over at the house filming it all. It couldn't have been any better. It was brilliant. So that was the hater. But we walked on into town, and we'd had problems with keeping our phones charged. So Damien came up with a scheme. He told me there's a massive Tesco on your way into Sligo. You won't miss it. And if our phones die, we'll meet there on the air. And that was the plan. But I don't know what Tesco Damien was talking about, because I walked straight into Sligo and I didn't see one. And I walked back out again and there still wasn't one. And my phone was dead. And I got back to the bridge, and I asked the young fella, Stephen, and he went on his phone to see could I contact Damien. No, it wasn't possible. And his phone was down as well. It was on 6%, and he was about to go on. And the next thing, this vision appeared, and it was Neve. And you couldn't make it up. She had a plate of potatoes on it for me, and I love spuds like every Irishman. And when I seen her coming with that, and potatoes and fish and peas and a knife and fork, and she said, "Kevin, here's your dinner, and do you need any help?" And the rain was just starting really, really heavy, and I felt so despondent in that exact moment. And my guardian angel appeared, and it was me, and she got me in the car, and I ate the dinner, and I charged my phone, and I contacted Damien, and everything was good. And like, that was the power of the internet. I think maybe Eamon had sent word down, and they were all talking, and that's how it ended up. And we met Neve and Brian, and we had a pint or two in the pub last night, and it was just lovely. So that was the day. I have a couple of videos to do on things, as I say, that arisen yesterday, and I'll do them today, hopefully. So, Slán, stationed on Palestine.